Hi there. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through a process using which you can take your data-driven marketing to the next level. So the whole idea of this is to take data from multiple sources, be it Shopify, be it any ads platforms like Meta Ads or Google Ads, and then take them and load them into something called a data warehouse, which is essentially a repository of different kinds of data sources, and then you can use that data to sort of transform it, manipulate it, and this entire process is called ELT, which is extraction load transformation. It is a modern version of something which has been around for some time, which is called ETL. Again, essentially the components remain the same. It's just that the process and a couple of elements in the process, as you can see, LNT. So loading the data and transforming or manipulating it for using in BI tools for analysis. So just the ordering is changed, but there are some other differences as well. Without going into all the theoretical aspects of it, I'm just going to give you a very practical, quickly actionable sort of an introduction to this whole process. So the tool that I'm using is called Fivetran, as you can see right up here. And this is one of those ETL or ELT tools rather, which runs or has the capability of running in the cloud. There are some others as well in this space like Airbyte, which you can use. So Airbyte, for instance, is an open source tool. This is a proprietary one, but it's fairly no code, quite beginner friendly if you are not a very sort of techie person. But there are quite a few sort of detailed steps involved. So even if it's not directly coding, but you have to be familiar and be comfortable using SaaS-based applications. So you can see here there are two, so there are three connections here. We're going to be looking at one. So essentially, by connection is meant the source of the data. So the data is going to come from open exchange rates. So this is the exchange rates for different currencies on a real-time basis, and this data is going to be pulled into um, the data warehouse where it is going to be stored, which is going to be BigQuery in our case, and that is going to be pulled in via API. So that process here, pulling the data in a structured format and on a in a particular frequency, so you can see that the connection is active. So what this is going to do is continuously keep fetching the data via API, and this process is going to run continuously. Obviously, there's going to be a cost involved going forward, but of course, those things we can you can take up later, or maybe I'll discuss in a separate video. Those are important considerations as well as to what software you should take and all from a business point of view. But for starters, so this is basically a fully functional sort of package that I've taken. So that's because it's in a trial period, but eventually it will shift to the free version of it. So there it will have a limited number of connections. There will be some other limitations. But here for the purposes of this video, we are going to look at only one connection, which is one data source where it's coming from open exchange rates. I'll jump into that tool's website as well. So this is where, as you can see, the API activity breakdown. So open exchange rates, you're going to have to create an account on this site if you're doing this. So by the way, this video obviously is using this particular example of a connector. You can choose any connector. Like I said at the start of the video, it can be Shopify, Meta Ads, Google Ads, anything that you want. And then you will have to follow the steps specific to that platform. So I created one from Shopify. There was, I'll show that in a separate video. Shopify has its own requirements. It's actually pretty simple. You will have to simply install the app of Fivetran at the back end, and then you'll be pretty much good to go. In some cases, you may have to activate some sort of API access key, access API key, and you will have to input it here. Um, in this case, what was required is after creating the Open Exchange Rates account, you would be needed to actually input the app ID, which is here, which ideally you should be keeping to yourself. And then once that's done, you will input that data into the Open Exchange, that API key in this place here, or not the API key, rather the app ID. So this is where you actually start a new connection. And once you start the new connection, you'll see the data. The destination was already created in my case, which was BigQuery, which I'll show in the next step. And this is very easy, as you can see, just 2 or 3 steps. You'll have to decide what is the base currency in this case, which means that what is the, like the benchmark currency against which the rates of all the other currencies will be mentioned. So instead of giving the absolute value, it will be relative to US dollars. So that is pretty much it. This is a name that you can give. You'll also have all the steps given on the right hand side here, so that should not be too difficult to do. Connecting the source, and especially if it's a source like say open exchange rate where the data is pretty structured already, that's pretty easy. The main aspect here is to connect, the next aspect here is to connect the destination. And this is where you can see we have chosen BigQuery. So Google BigQuery is a tool, obviously it's a data warehouse, but it's kind of more than that. You can actually do a lot of data analysis and have predicting models. It has ML capabilities, a lot of things you can do now with BigQuery. It's a very important part of Google Cloud Project or GCP. But so this is where you put in the project ID. So I'll now show you. So by the way, you have to give a name to it. The name can be anything. This is just a, you can see here test PQ. So the project ID is where you will have to jump into this part, and then you have to grab it from here. So that's essentially the project ID. And so by the way, again, you will have to create a billing account, as you can see at the top here. So you will you'll have to keep an eye on the billing charges. Once again, like I said, so there are a lot of considerations. So uh, the way BigQuery works is you will query using SQL or SQL, and depending on the nature of the data set, how large the data set is, and how complex the query is, it will incur some charges. Okay, because it's running on the cloud server, right? Google's cloud server, and then those you will obviously have to pay those charges. Whoever is sort of paying for it, whether it is you or your client or any stakeholder. Their card will be associated with that account, and it's only after this thing is actually been added, the billing account, can you actually start utilizing this tool here. Otherwise, if it's like a free account, which is called a sandboxed account, you can't actually do that. If it's a sandbox BigQuery account, you can't use Fivetran. So all those details, by the way, you'll be able to read from the right-hand side part here, and then that should sort of give you an idea of how to get started with this. Okay, so there are two ways of doing it. Selecting deployment models, you can choose any of these. Again, not very necessary to dive deep into it, but I would suggest to choose a SaaS deployment here, and then you can use Fivetran's service account. There's something called service account. You can read up on it. We can talk about it separately, but I would say that you should use you should not go for this one. Just use the service account that Fivetran is going to create, and there's going to be an ID for it. You will be requiring that ID later on in this process. Data processing location, you can choose where the server should be located, and then we'll have a cloud service provider. Again, in this case, it's going to be GCP itself in my case, but if you're using some other kind of cloud service provider, if it is AWS or Azure, then you can choose that as well, and then you choose your time zone. So that's pretty much it in the whole process here. But that's just within Fivetran. Now, once this is done, and you can actually then save and test, and then it will actually run a test connection and just check if the data is being pulled correctly or not, and then it'll be done. So that's pretty much the main steps within the main steps within Fivetran. So you'll have the connection. So the way it works is Fivetran is connecting with with the source. So in this case, Open Exchange Rates, Fivetran is connecting with BigQuery, which is the destination, and then it's going to establish the connection between BigQuery and Open Exchange Rate. So it's connecting with the source and the destination, and then it's connecting source and destination between them. So that is the process. Pretty much most tools will operate in this way. So the whole process of ELT is just to get the data into the system, and it's the transformation part which is a little bit more complex. And you'll see here there's something I've kept opened, which is called quick start for DBT. Now DBT Cloud. So DBT is essentially a method to carry out transformation. Okay, and this is a fairly detailed thing, so I'll you can read up on it if you want it. There's lots of documentation around it, but this is something that I will be creating tutorials on that if you want to learn it yourself. Again, plenty of material available already, but yeah, you can watch this space if you want to learn about it further. But this is something you can carry out in BigQuery as well. A relatively recent addition to BigQuery, but yeah, you can do that. There are some other methods, SQL based methods as well. You can do your own transformation from scratch. That's also a possibility. So so within I'm into BigQuery now, and you'll see that on the left-hand side of the panel. So yeah, do take your time to sort of become familiar with BigQuery. I cannot give an entire introduction to that here in this video, but on the left-hand panel you can see this is Google Cloud, and this is basically a test account, but this is associated with my own email ID, and there's a lot of stuff that has been that is available here. There's SQL and the plenty of Google Cloud products. Okay, so everything under Google Cloud is here, but we are primarily looking at BigQuery, and within that also there's a ton of stuff going on here. But there will be a couple of places that we'll be referring to in this video. So in Google Cloud, you will just have to look at the projects. So there are lots of projects within Google Cloud and within BigQuery. So this is the project that we are talking about here. So this thing here is called a project data set. Under this project, there's a data set, open exchange rates on the left here. You can see this has been automatically created once we actually did that Fivetran stuff. And under that, there are a couple of tables. So that's how it works in BigQuery. The architecture is like there's a project, then there's a data set, and within that, there are tables. Okay, so everything that SQL deals with, because it's an SQL or SQL-based platform, everything is in the form of tables, and SQL only deals with tables. So these are the couple of tables that got created, currency and rate. And so I've got those tables open for you for quick reference. So this is the rate. So you can see here field names are given, very useful. You know that there's currency code, you know there's a database, there's base stamps, and then a couple of tables that Fivetran has created. As you can see, a couple of columns, sorry. Fivetran deleted, Fivetran synced, and rate. Then you can look at the currency. And by the way, you can look at each table and have a quick preview of it as well here. So that gives you a snapshot of what to expect from it. So you can see that 50 tables or 50 columns from the table are given here to 2002 columns. Rather rows, 50 rows of them are given here in the first snapshot. So currency code database, data timestamps in this format. So the year, then you have the time, and then the year, the date, the time, and then the rate as well. So again, with respect to USD as a base currency, how many times the USD this particular currency is that's been given here. So for instance, AD, it's 3.6 times in valuation in comparison to USD. So so basically that means that 1 USD is 3.67 AD. So then we look at the currency, and you'll see that there obviously a couple of things. So when you're talking about SQL and tables, and again, this is a huge topic, but just giving a quick introduction on how to approach it. So there's a column called code here, right? And within rate. So that was within currency table, and within rate, you can see there's another table called column called currency code. So as you can understand, both are the same things. It's just that this is supposed to be the key, right? You can join the tables together, for instance. You will have to. So those are manipulations. Those are the things that's called transformation. So you will need to connect these two tables because you only have the currency code here and you have the rate in the other table. So there are two tables which are split out. These are called partition tables, and then we'll have to join them together and start using them. So this is the overall data set info. You can take a look at that. This often is very useful, the data set ID, because this is the one that you will actually have to start querying with. So BigQuery is so useful now. You can actually start querying it from here straight away. I think somewhere around here. So you can just copy it and start querying it from here right away. Okay. Um, Right. Okay. So then I move on to a sample, couple of sample queries. So this is where I'm trying to find out the moving average of the exchange rates. So again, there can be so many things. I've got a document here. I can share this as well. I'll share this in the video description. So a bunch of SQL queries here that, again, I've used ChatGPT to generate the queries. You can think of your own. You can use these, modify these. But yeah, it's always best to at least know the fundamentals. I am familiar with the fundamentals of SQL, and that helps me to sort of modify these. So what these LLM tools like ChatGPT will do is they will generate queries for you or generate some sort of code, whatever language you're working with. But sometimes what's going to happen is, and not sometimes, but quite often, is that they're going to make mistakes. If you know the fundamentals, you're going to be able to rectify those mistakes and actually, make them get them to work. So that's what I would suggest. So yeah, never skip the fundamentals. Anyway, so this is what I'm trying to find out here, moving average of exchange rates. Again, very basic SQL commands, select from, where, order by, stuff like that. So all it's trying to do is get the currency code, data timestamps, and then create that moving average. So in this case, as you can see, it's a 7-day moving average, which is why it's taking the 6 preceding days, and that's how it's creating that. So that's what I was saying. From here, as you can see, is the that's the progression it follows. It's the project ID, then the then the data set, and then finally the table name. So that's the structure. That's how it is queried, and then it's ordering it by currency code and in a descending format and data timestamps as well. So that's how it has been done. So it's as you can see, it's in a chronological order because of this little thing here. So yeah, just I don't spend too much time with the code here. You will have to spend time on it separately anyway. I'm just trying to give you the idea. So you can see this is the outcome. So if I run it again in front of you, this query is going to um, result in this output. So every time it's running this query, by the way, so you're using data, so you're potentially chargeable, right? So you should always keep an eye on how much it's costing you. Somewhere around here, you'll get an idea of the costs involved and all of that. So there you go, few cost and billing. So very important, and that's actually very much a part of this whole exercise. I mean, you should know how to do this stuff and not just copy paste things from ChatGPT or Claude. You should know how to do this stuff where in such a way that you can minimize costs. That's the most important thing. Otherwise, the stakeholder is going to incur costs and then say that, hey, it's just stop doing all this. I don't need all that data. Okay, so that's it. I mean, that was the basic starting idea. Now I'll just show you couple of very useful stuff that I mentioned the other day on LinkedIn also that it has. So this is what I'm talking about. This open in part here. This means, and this is a relatively new thing, that you can open this table. So this table that got created is called it's obviously just a table in SQL. You can open it directly in Google Sheets directly from here. You can start visualizing it in Looker Studio from here directly. It's going to do that trick for you. You're going to be able to work directly with Python from here, connected directly with the Python notebook, and all of these are Google products, right? So Google Sheets is a Google product, Looker Studio is a Google product, and Google has a product called Google Colab, if you're not familiar with it, which is a free Python notebook that you can get started with, and then Data Canvas where you can also visualize it. So very cool stuff. I can show you a couple of small examples here. So I clicked on that open with Lucas Studio, and this is what it created automatically. All right. So it created the rate, using the rate table, just like here. As you can see here, it's using the rate table, and it created this one. I did a little bit of sort of fine tuning after it created it, but it just automatically picks up the data source here. It creates a table and a chart. And as you can see here, it is giving you the currency code data timestamps rates. And these are all parallel to the x-axis now. You might be wondering what the hell's happening. But this is a simple time series chart for each of these currencies. And the reason why they're all parallel to the x-axis because it's only got 3 days of data and there's not much variation. Otherwise, it will all be like snake-like curvy stuff. So that's what has been created here automatically in just one click, right? And yeah, you can do your little fine tuning, but it's really useful. And it's only a couple of things here, but depending on the complexity of the query that you just ran within BigQuery, it can create, it can actually give you that head start, right? You want to minimize your repetitive tasks. Even if you are not a big fan of AI, I keep saying this, but there's no way you can give an argument for doing repetitive stuff manually, right? Like if I were to jump into that Python code here, which was through the Python notebook that I just spoke of, which by the way operates within SQL itself, or rather BigQuery itself, sorry. So you can see that all these libraries, these are called dependencies. You'll have to download them or rather import them, and then you will have to do this basic stuff like printing out, the actual job here, which is specific to BigQuery, and then spitting out and creating the actual data frame. This is called a data frame, which is pandas terminology in Python, and then actually displaying it. So all of this is very repetitive and very basic stuff. Um, there is no strong argument to sort of argue against doing this using AI. I mean, why not, right? So that was thing. Another basic description of the data set and what it is doing, what lies underneath. You can take a look at descriptive stats, dispersion measures, center tendencies, and all of that. and then straight to the plot, right? Using a library called matplotlib, you're jumping right into the subplots, which is giving you the the um, time series curves for each of these currencies. So that's exactly the graph that you actually saw. There you go, within Looker Studio as well. And so yeah, I mean, let's jump back. So that's the overall process. And while I was also talking about the setup of BigQuery, within Fivetran, there are a couple of things that are a little bit more complicated. So within BigQuery, you will have to follow a few more steps as well. So on the right hand side is this guide is given here. Just follow it diligently. You will have to add a couple of permissions, and stuff here, and that part is actually crucial, so do pay attention to that as well. So you can see here all this stuff here, creating the life cycle of objects in the bucket. So you have to go to this place here. I've got one page open for you, so you have to go just a sec. Yeah, there you go. So within cloud storage, if you look at this navigation menu here, so apart from BigQuery, like I said, you'll also have to jump into a couple of places. One is ensure that you have a billing account. Then you'll have to jump into IAM and admin. You'll have to go and give a couple of user accesses and add principals and stuff like that. Like these are like basic access level things that will allow Fivetran's service account to actually work. And then we'll have to jump into this part here, which is called just a sec, yeah, cloud storage, and you'll have to jump into buckets. So that part I've kept open here in front of you. So again, what it is, what it does, it's kind of like you can read up as per your own time. But for now, the most important thing is that you just have to just get it done and follow the steps here. Not much to think about. Just follow the exact steps that they've given, and just set a life cycle, which is going to be like 1 day, and that's it. That's pretty much. You will get started with creating the Fivetran account. Again, in the coming days, I'm going to be showing much more advanced applications of it and how we can do transformations. You can do transformations even within Fivetran itself using dbt. So they have that option here as well. So that is something that is also doable. Expect some stuff from my side as well, but yeah, do give it your own reading if you want to. So yeah, this was the whole picture. I hope I was able to provide enough motivation to get started with it. I like people delving into data-driven marketing. Too much of marketing is I think based on just gut feeling. I like it when it's based on data, and this is why I just wanted to, um, you know, add value to the community by providing this tutorial. Again, from a marketer's perspective, it's not necessarily very much highly technical. I tried to avoid the unnecessarily technical bits and give you cues how you can get started with it, even if you're not a techie or from a very tech background. So hope this was useful. Do like, share, and subscribe as always if you like the video. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Thanks for watching.